Our Gatorade game leaders focusing in on the Lacrosse National quarterfinal showdown between Penn State and Notre Dame will be Sunday in Annapolis, Maryland. Nittany Lions getting to this point by knocking off Colgate over the weekend. The Irish are the higher scoring team, but the Nittany Lions the edge in faceoffs and turnovers forced. The winner heads to the Final Four in Foxborough, Mass. to face either top seed Cornell or Richmond. Jeff Tambroni, the head coach of the Nittany Lions, joins us now. And, Coach, before we look ahead to the Irish, let's look back on what was a thrilling game against Colgate. You guys were down in the fourth quarter. You rallied to win it. What did it say about your team to come back in that way?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it after the game in the locker room and talked about it as a staff earlier this morning. It was a gut check, going down 11-10 with 5 minutes left. And there were several plays that were made in the middle of the field where we were able to regain possession and have a couple of good offensive possessions there. And I just think the poise and leadership of our team showed with great lengths after being down. So it was probably a good moment for us. And anytime you can have that kind of opportunity in the playoffs and survive and win, you hope that you can take that maturity, take that, kind of a battle-tested mentality with you as you go forward.
Coach, Matt Trainor's kind of been your go-to guy all year. It was Liam Matthews, though, that came up with a couple big goals there down the stretch. And tell me about his contribution and what it meant to have him step up.
Yeah, I mean, we redshirted him last year, so he's come in his first year of playing in the NCAAs, and he's done a terrific job of just continuing to get better each and every week, and plays a little bit of a nuanced role for us off the ball. But the pressure that he took off of Kyle Lehman and Matt Trainor this past week, just being super efficient in his shooting efforts and kind of Johnny on the spot at the end of the game with 2 huge goals to put us in a position to tie it and go up by a goal at the end. So just really proud of him. He's a young man still learning really the system here in the States. He's from Canada. But to see him play the way he did down the stretch was, a credit to him and the work that he's put in.
Talk about young guys stepping up. What about Reed Gillis with the faceoffs? We were showing that comparison with you and Notre Dame and how efficient you guys have been. Reed was tremendous, and this is a freshman, Coach.
Yeah, our starting faceoff midfielder got hurt a couple of weeks ago, and Reed stepped in the Big Ten semifinals against Maryland and did such a good job. And in the last 2 weeks, he's faced off against 2 really good teams and has given us a chance both in the Big Ten playoffs and now in the NCAA playoffs of just being competitive. And it's just remarkable, the fact that he has just remained focused and continued to get better all year as a backup faceoff midi. I mean, certainly he could lose his focus as a freshman. It's a long year, especially as a backup in that position, but knowing not only that he is ready to go out and take the faceoffs in the position that he's in, but also having success. It's just, it's given us a chance. And certainly against Colgate, we needed every one of them to get over the hump.
Coach, you have said historically that you focus more on relationships in building a team than you do on season-ending targets. But obviously, you want to be peaking at the right time, which you guys have done here. How do those relationships help you to be playing your best lacrosse when you get to this point of the season?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And I think, it comes down to this point in the year, the margin of error is just so slim. And I know it sounds a little corny at times, but like love of one another and respect for each other in terms of the journey that you're going through is by far the most important piece. This selfless purpose, so to speak, about why you're doing it and who you're doing it for. And I think, the X's and O's, they're important tactically, offensively, defensively. That stuff is important. But when it comes to these moments, like if you take the Colgate game with 5 minutes left, playing with purpose and recognizing the relationships that you're forming and who you're competing for and why you're even competing in the first place kind of takes the edge off a little bit and the pressure off of having to do something. And it shifts the kind of the paradigm over to the opportunity to get out there and compete with the guys that you love. And we stress it a lot in our culture. And, we were thankful that the guys were able to see it through here last Saturday and hope that will lead the way as we go into Sunday's contest against Notre Dame.
Let's talk about that game against Notre Dame. They're the two-time defending national champs. They haven't necessarily had a year that would scream defending national champs, and yet they're playing well here. They knock off a really good Ohio State team. So give us a sense of the challenge that the Fighting Irish present.
Yeah, I mean, if there's ever a team that's battle tested, it's a team that's won the last two national championships. And, it's a tough venture in any stretch to continue to keep guys motivated, through preseason and scrimmages and regular season games, especially when you've played through Memorial Day over the last couple of years and have won. So they're playing their best lacrosse of the year right now. And as you mentioned, beating a terrific, Big Ten champion Ohio State team. So they're athletic all over the field. They got great experience all over the field. They're extremely well coached. Coach Corrigan's been there for 30 plus years. So, I mean, they have a lot going for them right now. But at the end of the day, it's 60 minutes lacrosse, and it's important for our guys to just recognize it's not always the best team. It's the team that plays the best. And hopefully the experiences that we've had throughout the course of this year in a really tough Big Ten conference in our non-conference schedule will prepare them for everything that we'll face and then some on Sunday afternoon.
Well, Jeff Tambroni, head coach of Penn State lacrosse. Coach, good to talk to you again. I hope we can speak again later here in the spring. It'll mean you've moved on again, but congratulations on your success and looking forward to this game against the Irish this weekend.
Great. Thanks so much for having me again.